Hey, this is the Watching Bird. On my channel, I use my dreams, my imagination, and my environment, along with any information that comes my way for inner growth and exploration. So, what are synchronicities? Synchronicities are these repetitive signs in your environment and in your dreams. And so the majority of the people tend to look past them. They think, oh, it's just a coincidence, or that was kind of weird, kind of like deja vu. You know, when you experience it, you don't really know how to explain it, but you went through it and then you just kind of just dismiss it because it's not like you even know what to do with it, right? But what if with synchronicities, like you notice something, but you use it to kind of explore what this could mean to you, or how this coincidence could be a connection to your inner guidance. They don't only have to be this like cool, weird, fun experience that you know, or coincidence that you just went through. If you wanted to, you can make it more. Most of the time, most of us will probably go out of our way to search for the meanings of things or symbolism when we're about to go get a tattoo, or, to look up something that you're reading or some historical story and you want to know the symbolism behind it. But these last 4 years, I couldn't help but explore this topic even more than ever. And so I think it's time I let you all in on my little secret. Now, I'm going to let you in on one of my synchronicities. And so maybe you can see how I do it, and maybe you want to start exploring and playing with yours. Okay, so for the first thing that happens is you notice this coincidence, this moment that it's just rare, right? Or just weird and unique. In my case, it was actually very consistent, and it was like popping up so much that it's like you couldn't help but just be like, okay, this is a little too weird. In my case, I was starting to see frogs, and I've never really cared too much for frogs. I never really paid attention to frogs. Not until I started seeing them every day, consistently, all the time, in random areas, in random moments. And I was experiencing this so often that it did kind of throw me for a loop. And I started thinking, I'm like, I am spiritual. And so I started thinking like, maybe this is, I'm like, am I getting a sign? Is God trying to tell me something here? And so this is how it kind of started. And I was like, well, what could it mean? What is he trying to tell me? And if God really could or is trying to communicate with us, but we're like so stubborn that we're not paying attention, what is it really? And I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to even start, how to even decipher the messages if they are coming through, right? That's when I dismissed it, and I was like, all right, well, whatever, right? But they kept coming, and they kept showing up every freaking day. Sometimes multiple times, but it was just weird. Like, how often do you see frogs? Like, I before that, I had never even noticed them. And suddenly, maybe it's like that one car, like you buy a car and suddenly you see it everywhere because you have it, right? And so maybe my unconscious mind is paying more attention to it. But why? Why is my mind paying more attention to this? Yeah, it was unique things. A lot of things like used to happen to me in the past, but I always dismissed them too. But why now? Why am I so hyper-focused on this frog? Right? It's probably because I was seeing it every day, and it never stopped surprising me every single time it showed up. I remember one day in particular where I was like, okay, today I didn't get no signs. Okay, for sure, this is just a coincidence. Like, whatever, like I could just let it go. Like, I haven't seen it all day. And this is like after months and months of having every single day. And the one day where I'm like, oh, I didn't get it, I'm like, oh yeah, it was just a coincidence. And the funny thing is, like, it's already late night. The day's end. I'm not gonna get on my phone. There's no way I'm gonna see a frog. There's nowhere. I guess it could be like, I could hear a frog in my window or something, because that had happened. And so my nephew shows up at home and he knocks on my door and he's like, Nayeli, look what I got. And so I open my door and he's got this little froggy thingy, the little frog toy, little squishy little froggy. And he's like, look what I got. And I like look shocked and I'm like, oh, wow, freaking way, right? And even my brother looks at me kind of like weird, like, what? Like, what's the problem? Why is she looking at his toy like it's something weird, right? Or whatever. I guess he was thrown off by my face. Yeah, it was kind of surprising. Every single time I was tempted to tell myself, oh, today I'm not seeing the sign. today I don't have no frogs, toads, or nothing coming around me. And then last minute, it still would show up. I won't lie, I was questioning my sanity a few times. I'm an adult now, and I like to think that I'm pretty creative, but this kind of was on another level. Exploring what was happening and what this all meant, it was kind of messing with my mind, and yeah, it was a little tricky at first. I think we close our eyes to some truths that are harder to see. I mean, it is easier to just ignore it. Sometimes you just have to have faith that the world, God, whatever you believe in has your back, and you just need to pay attention. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen so many frogs in my life. So, I mean, I know at this point that this is what it is. It's a unique experience I'm having, and this is where I start trying to figure out and decipher it throughout the process of me seeing these little frogs every day. I mean, I've had many spiritual experiences. I do spend a lot of time on my own exploring my inner world and all, but this was the first thing in my physical world that I experienced that was very persistent, and this little frog was like stubborn to get my attention, right? And so here's where I started thinking, okay, what does a frog mean? What could it be possibly telling me? And I'm like, okay, well, frogs, they go ribbit, and so they use their voice. They also jump, they're green, they live in ponds, or I guess they could live in your garden. These are things that I started thinking about so that I can try to see what it could be meaning for me. And like something that maybe I'm not saying. Frogs, they leap into stuff. And so what is it that maybe I need to leap into? There are a few things that came up as I was thinking these things. Like I had been wanting to create a channel for many years, and it was on several different things, like maybe a do-it-yourself channel, because I'm pretty crafty. I like doing a lot of random things, and I never did, right? And so recently, or at the time that this frog stuff started happening, I was getting a bunch of ideas coming in terms of like what I can do, but none of them for some reason was really like catching my attention. I was into them, but it didn't really like make me excited. And so there was this one thing that was making me really excited, but there was a lot of insecurities that came along with that idea. But when I started thinking about it, I'm like, this thing would be the one thing that would be like, wow, I would never get tired of this. Like, wow, that would be so cool. But then it would require me to open up and talk about stuff that I don't really talk openly to people about. It's not something that usually I would do, but it's the one thing that made me super excited, and it would be so much fun, and it would be like the funnest thing I could do, right? But again, my fears of what people would think, what people would say, blah, 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 and it stopped me for a really long time to even move forward with that. And I just kept pursuing these other ideas. These ideas were more professional, more serious, really, something that would be easily accepted by society. Not that it wouldn't be helpful for the world or for, the people that I was creating the stuff for, but ultimately it wasn't making me excited, and I was again choosing to do something that looked good in the eyes of others instead of doing something that made me excited genuinely just for me. I even started writing a book, but ultimately I wasn't really excited as I am about this one thing. And so I feel like the frog maybe was trying to tell me why don't you go for it? Take that leap, speak up. Don't worry about speaking up. Just say it. And so I wouldn't start, but the little frog kept coming in. I also looked online to, see what the symbolism on frogs, and some people, traditionally they would say, oh, they're good luck, or the frog totem it belongs to people who hear messages from the other side. And color green was associated with your heart space. How the frog spirit teaches you to embrace your voice. The frogs are said to bring rain and healing. And so there's this story that I read that a frog would be put into the mouth of the person that was sick, and then they would ask the frog to then hop away with the sickness, and therefore the person would, be healed. And so throughout these months, I felt like I was learning a lot from this little animal, and I was applying it to my life in the moment of what I could be doing with that information, taking care of myself more in this way, that way, learning to speak up more, practicing taking that leap. This little guy was constantly giving me motivation to keep going, keep trying, keep practicing. So one day I'm like, all right, this is it. I know what I'm gonna do. I already had the first video that I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this video on these frogs. I'm gonna tell everybody what happened to me, this crazy frog stuff. I was set. I was like, okay, I already like started planning it out. Obviously things don't always happen exactly the way you map them out, but I was for sure, I knew this is what I wanted to go after, how I was gonna go about it. I was gonna be able to draw, paint, do whatever I want, grow my skills in my art abilities. Something I had never really taken the time to do. I always thought it was like a waste of time. It was, there was no point in it. But finally, like I actually get to do it. Like I love to do that. I never went to school or anything for it, but it's still fun, Anyway, so here I am thinking like, wow, I'm really gonna go tell everybody this thing that happened to me. I'm like, people are gonna think I'm nuts. And I was like, but you know what? It is what it is, and I'm gonna enjoy this. It's my truth. It really is. Like I went through it, and I'm like, as crazy as it sounds, it's what I'm going through. It's what I went through, and I think it's crazier to ignore the signs that are pushing me towards something that is exciting me, thrilling me profoundly. So now here I am being inspired by the frog. So initially I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna explore the symbolism of these animals and stuff, and so I'm gonna draw the animal, and then I'm gonna go into detail about how the symbolism behind them, or how I would even translate them, how I translated the frog, right? And even though right now I'm choosing to go a little bit different, because it's just playing out a little different, because I had a dream after, and so it kind of changed the plan initially, and plus I'm getting all these other ideas of what I want to do and how I want to go about it, and so I'm okay with it even morphing or changing and everything, or sometimes going according to my plan. But for now, this is how it's going. And so the dream that night, after I decided what I was going to do with my YouTube channel, I had a dream about me seeing myself within this mirror. And so I'm not going to go into detail about the dream, because I've made a video on the dream before. If you haven't seen the dream video, you might want to go see that right now. Put pause and go check it out. I'll link it below. I'm going to go ahead and start the dream translation from here. The dream starts with me being inside of a mirror, looking at myself. So why a mirror? The first thing that pops into my head is the Snow White queen, where she goes, mirror, mirror on the wall. The queen asks the mirror for validation of, how great she is. And the mirror responds back with kind of like something really mean. And since I'm the mirror, right, I'm the actual person, I'm like, am I the one that's being mean? So am I being mean to myself when I want to look at myself and what I can accomplish or do? This led me to like the mirror principle. If you look externally, you might think you're this or that, or whatever it is that you think of yourself is shaped by that, and it starts becoming that internal image of yourself. But if you turn within, if you start looking at what you wish you could see and start creating what you want to see into your reality. Meaning we need to be more intentional with our thoughts so that they're more aligned with what we want to go after. So I began to practice being more loving and being more aware of how I'm talking to myself. You think you love yourself and you start hearing these voices of you actually talking down to yourself in many ways. Moving on to the roach that I saw in my neck. Keep in mind, this is like the second symbol that would represent something regarding the neck or your voice, like the roach in my neck, the frog that makes sounds, ribbit. This makes you think about, having a frog in your throat. I hear that frog going, hello, my baby, hello, my honey, hello, my, whatever. Anyway, so even that frog, like only one person saw him shine, right? But nobody else would. Like the frog is pretty cool shining on his own, right? But when it comes to being in public, all of a sudden he's like, rewind. I feel that for sure. So I get the frog, but why the roach? I associate this roach with like something disgusting. It's hard to kill, and then it even scatters in the dark. It hides from the light. Oh wait, now it makes more sense. So for sure now I'm like, okay, definitely it's clear that I'm scared of the spotlight with the whole frog that likes to dance alone, and the cockroaches that scatter from the light. But at the same time, maybe I did kind of feel like my voice, or not my voice itself, but like what I say could be pesty, or maybe people won't want to hear it. And so I'll keep to myself about certain things. If no one knows, nobody can hurt you, right? But going back to the whole mirror effect, if we really want to transform our thoughts to help us, we need to refocus and learn how to change the narrative. So in this case, if people only like you for what you show of them, and you don't really show them all of you, then do they really truly like you? The thing I've learned is that people will create their own image of what they think of you, whether it's true or not. And so people are gonna think things about you based on how they think themselves, or how they perceive the world, whether, like I said, if it's true or not. Sometimes we could even fall prey into believing some of these mean things that people would say about you, hence wanting to shy away from the light, hence wanting to stay, decoy in order to not be seen. And just like the roach is hard to kill, some thoughts are really hard to kill too. But if we could start looking in the mirror and start speaking lovingly to this person that we see, you start focusing on all the wonderful things about you and all the things that you could create. This frog and my dream were helping me to train myself, to build my confidence, the courage to transform those repetitive thoughts that we can have, regardless if it's doubt, insecurities, procrastination, fears, if it's OCD, PTSD, anything that you might have that is stopping you. Taking a second and realizing, I'm gonna do this no matter what, no matter how long it takes me, no matter how many fails that it takes me to get it right. I'm gonna keep practicing, and I'm gonna keep taking those baby steps. Because I'm the one that's using this frog as my mascot to motivate me and convince myself that I can go after it. You could have the same frog come visit you over and over, but you translate it to what fits to you and what you're wanting to happen in your life. No longer are you that roach that everybody steps on, because if they don't like you, you could do without them. So by me pulling the roach out of my neck in my dream, showed me how I myself thought my voice a pest, and I alone can only be the one to remove this belief. So in my dream, I saw the truth, and only I could kill it. I needed to learn how to be my own frog to my toad, finding that unique missing button Toad desperately was looking for, so that I can explore and share with others that what my heart is looking for. So today, here I am, leap, leap, rivet, rivet. And perhaps others will value what I have to say, and maybe they won't. But what I do know is today, I'm the queen in the mirror that reflects that beautiful frog in her hand, and I just see beauty. There's so much more that I learned in the process of all this exploration, right? But I hope that you can go out and explore this on your own to help see, what you find, and how you shift your attitude, and how you formed your attitude, so that you can transform your thoughts and live a happier life, going after those things that make you feel alive. Oh wait, so I almost forgot to tell you guys. So after I had this dream, that next morning, or the next day pretty much, my brother shows up to the house with frog legs to cook in the barbecue. And so that was one of the ones that I remembered that was like, what the? So it was like back to back, like, okay, I decided what I was going to do. I have the dream. I'm like, wow, okay, this is fitting and perfectly. This is what I need to do. This is making me so excited. And then the frog legs, I'm like, what the heck? I mean, who buys frog legs for barbecues? I mean, even in general, who brings frog legs? Anyway, I thought I should share that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you're interested in seeing what are the plans I have for this channel to help bring in that different perspective to cheer you up, and hopefully help you gain your own perspective to help yourself cheer yourself up. And also, next time you are waiting for a sign, or you're waiting for a message, don't hesitate to start counting these synchronicities and let yourself dive in. For those of you interested in my artwork, I will have a link below so you guys can check out. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.